So what is Hardwest the board game? Hardwest the board game is the action strategy game covering 1 to 6 players. It's taking place in this old weird Wild West with demons, devils, cowboys, and all kind of like supernatural beings. Not talking about the cowboys, of course. So not talking about so much, I'm going to just explain the rules step by step. Alright, before you play the game, you have 2 factions to choose. You have colonists and occultists, and you have to assemble the characters. For that I chose Manic. He's a demon, and I really like him, because I really like playing demons. And there is a dashboard for him. And there are some things on the dashboard. You have action points, lag points, you have the whole live truck, which is self-explanatory. You have a slot for the equipment, and there is also a little text telling you what this character's special ability is, and of course the movement of the character. Each character in the game has a name, has let's say a kind. What is so this is a demon. You can have a human, you can have other characters, and you have a class of the character. This is very important because each character with each class can carry a special weapon, a special gun. So in the game you have gunners, you have riflemen, and you have sharpshooters. This demon particularly is a sharpshooter, so he will be only allowed to carry a sniper rifle kind of gun, which is a kind of powerful gun with a long range, but doesn't really have so much ammo inside. To assemble the character, you simply just put this gun in the left slot, and this is all what you need. Now the next step is to put all the tokens into correct slots. So you have action, you have luck points, you have bullet, but that will be the last one. That will be life on the top. So every token you have always on the top of the truck, apart from the bullet token. At the beginning of the game, you start with your gun half full, with the magazine only being in half. Additionally, there is a equipment that you can put in the slot. Equipment you can obtain in the game. You can purchase before the game, because there is a little mechanic that allows you to buy this equipment. There is a price of the equipment. It tells you what it does, and you can use it in the game anytime you want. So this is the whole character, how it should look before the game. Now I'm going to talk how to use the character, how to play with the character. So everything basically in the Hardwest board game costs action points. For movement, if you want to move your character, so 5 spaces, here any direction orthogonally, you have to spend 1 action point for that. So 1 action point, and you can move your figure 5 spaces. If you want to shoot, it's the same kind of story. You pay the action, and then you shoot. You just slide down the tokens, down the track, and this is marked that the gun was fired and the magazine is now empty. The same with the luck, but for the luck I will come back a bit later. Life is kind of self-explanatory. Damage done by the gun reduces the life. And of course, the equipment is kind of the same story. You have to pay action points to play the equipment. Once the equipment is played, it has the effect and is put outside of the game. At the beginning of your next turn, every character's action points are being restored. So they always go on the top of the truck. So here in the next turn, you'll be also able to reload your gun. Just slide down the token and push it up. When you reload the gun, it always goes up the way. The full magazine is always being reloaded this way. In the game you have cards. You have 2 types of cards. You have normal cards, as you would play a poker game, and you have nightmare cards, special cards. And I will get back to that a bit later. For those poker cards in the game, you have always 3 types of cards. You have an active card, which means that you can play it on your turn and it has some result. For example, this card is a disguise, and when you play a disguise, you can hide the location of your character. So you pay the action point also to play a card. 1 action point is required unless the text says something else. And for this card, you take 3 disguise tokens and you put them on the board with only 1 token revealing the real location of your character. So if your opponent shoots your character with a false location, it's not going to take any damage. The next type of card is the response. Response is a very funny card because it allows you to play in your opponent's turn. So, for example, this card tells you that instead of being killed, return your character as undead onto the coffin token. There are coffin tokens in the game and they're in certain locations. And it says then, put rest token on the character dashboard who performs successful shots, so this character won't be able to move the next turn. This character is also not secured. I'll come back to that a bit later. So this is playing in your opponent's turn as a response. Then there is a third kind of card in the game that they're permanently on the table. So this card is Mumble. And Mumble is a card that you put counters on it, and for each damage your characters take. So, for example, if your characters will overall taking 5 damage, you put 5 counters on that card. And if you do, you can spend those 5 counters and you can move. And this is an active. So in your turn, you'll be able to move 1 space your opponent's character in any direction you wish. There are also a chance cards in the game. What is a chance? Each weapon, each gun has a certain chance. So for example, this has a chance number 1, and it's going to go according to this table, which is going to mean, depending on your position, whether you're in normal position, you're in the window, you're on the floor in the window, and your range is increased, you're going to shoot against the characters there's also in some kind of location, and that's going to determine if it's harder or easier to shoot them. Here, for example, it's very easy to shoot when you're near, so 5 to 20, because this symbol of a skull means 20 on a die, and also if you roll this symbol, the skull symbol, the character is taking 1 extra damage. There are also easier rules, basic rules in the game that they don't involve those cards, but it's way more fun to use those cards and play advanced rules. Let's talk about shooting. Shooting with Harvest is quite simple. You have your turn, you have your character, you declare your target. Once your target is declared, so in this case is a Shievo, the Maniac, the demon, is going to shoot him. Counting the distance is really easy now. Let's see how it works. You simply count the squares. So in this case, it's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And if you would like to count it any other way, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 is going to be always the same result. Any way is going to be always 7 squares. Once it's declared, the Maniac is shooting him, and this is a second phase. You have 3 phases. You have declaring, you have targeting, and you have a final shot. So declaring is telling, okay, I'm shooting this one. Then targeting is like targeted, and when it's targeted, you roll the die, the result, and then the shot is done. In the third phase, when the shot is done, your opponent might counter or alter the result of that shot, like reducing the damage or even taking away all the damage, depending on the cards or any other mechanics. So once you have this distance, you take the chance card from the advanced rules. In the chance cards, we see that it's 1 to 6 is the first zone, but the distance is 7, so 7 is 7 to 9, zone 2. There is no cover, so you have normal range because you're just standing on a flat surface, and your targeting the character that has no cover. So no cover. That means that any result between 6 and 20 is resulting in a successful shot. Let's talk about the movement. As you know before, you have to spend action points for a character to move. This particular character can move 5 spaces, so 5 squares in any direction orthogonally. But there is a rule in the Hard West that you have to move your character directionally. If you can see, there is a little arrow in the front indicates which direction the character is actually heading. So if I wish to move him like 3 spaces and make a turn, the movement would look like this: 1, 2, and 3. So you see, it's always pretty important how you finish your movement, because the characters, they take additional damage from the back, and they're also not secured from the back. What is securing? In Hard West, a board game, securing is that you leave 1 action point unspent, and this way to 3 spaces around your character is secured. So no one can really approach him and, let's say, shoot him in the face, because your character will be able to shoot first. If that character misses, then the opponent can shoot back, but it's quite dangerous to approach the characters that are secured. If you have no action points, then your character is not being secured. Okay, so this is the whole game when it's being set. You have 2 teams, as you can see. This is a multiplayer game because the multiplayer actually gives the most fun. The whole characters that are assembled on both sides, and as you can see, there is something funny happening here. The whole board, the whole game is actually divided into 4 zones. So you see this square actually, and diagonally this one, is belonging to one faction, and on the other side is the same. There is a green faction and yellow faction on the other sides. Always put your character, we start the game about 3 squares from the nearest coffin token in your zone. Those are the zones you control. If you lose your zone, and when you lose the zone, only if you have no figure or 1 figure in your zone, and your opponent is overtaking the zone with 2 of his own characters. And then the zone is lost and is being overtaken, and if you lose all zones this way, you lose the game. You lose the game or win the game also if you complete the victory track. To complete the victory track, you have to collect some victory tokens. They're on the board. They're specifically placed according to the scenario. This is our first scenario, where you have a church, you have a shed, you have a little saloon. In each of those zones you have between 3 to 4 victory tokens. When you take the victory token, so you just put your character onto this space, you take the victory token and you put it onto the track. And then it goes for another one and another one. If you kill opponent's character, you also gain a victory point. If you overtake the zone, the same thing. You take over the zone, you put 1 token onto the track till the end. Now let's talk about covers. There are a specific type of covers in the game which actually makes it really fun to play. You have walls with full cover. That means that if the character is standing behind such wall, it cannot take any damage. You have walls like those, or walls with holes, and they always give you a half cover. This also gives you a half cover, but depending on the position, it will give you also a corner cover. But corner cover is something a bit different. There is also a window cover, so your character is standing near the window, and it's also having a half cover, but it works a bit differently. And I'm going to explain now how it exactly works. Now, this is how the corner cover works. You have this crazy nun, Isa, and you have a Chievo on the other side. She is going to gain a corner cover. So basically what I'm doing, of course, I'm paying all action points. She's moving a direction, let's say I need 1, 2, 3 spaces to get into the corner. Your character is always heading, is leaning back to the wall whenever standing next to the wall. So she's moving here, so she leans back to the wall, so that means that she's kind of automatically secure from the back because this is a wall with full cover. And in this situation, actually, she gains control over what is in front of her and here, all this zone till the end of the wall. This is her range. On the other side, Chievo doesn't have a corner cover. That means that he can't shoot the nun. He will be able only to shoot her if he goes right out of that line. So if he crosses the line of the wall, he's able to shoot her. So far, she's having an advantage over him because she has corner cover and Chievo doesn't. Previously, I mentioned that there is also a window cover, and this is how it works. So some characters, they might be in the building. You put them not in front of the window, you put them right here because they can be on the one side, on the other side of the window. But that marks that this character currently has window cover. It has window cover, the range of the character is increased, and the cover is increased because it counts as a half cover. So from here, Chievo can easily shoot the demon, and by counting squares, it will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And because of that, because he is in a window cover, it might also occur that the demon is standing not in the second zone, but in the first zone, which will also increase the chance of a successful shot. I'm going to show you how the shooting works in action. So this is a Balgur demon, and I'm going to spend 2 action points on him right down the track. And first is going to be for movement, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, allows him to stay in corner cover. And observe that there is a Chievo, and he's also having corner cover, but for this zone. And Balgur has for this all of this zone. And now that I spent already the second action point, I'm going to shoot. And Balgur, he has the revolver, and revolver is having a 10 range, and according to the board, the table of chances, it's going to be, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 7 between 6 and 8 is going to be in the second zone. So any result, this is a corner cover. Corner cover also works as, in this case, as a half cover. So again, half cover, this gun is actually pretty effective. So any result between 7 and 20 will result in a successful shot. So let's see. And it's 17, so it's pretty good. The shot is being taken, and for this weapon, because it's a close range gun, the damage is going to be actually pretty big. So for this gun is 3. So for that, you take Chievo down the track 1, 2, 3 to 5 health points. In the game, there are also barrels. Barrels are very interesting because they have this ability to deflect bullets. So observe the situation that you have this crazy nun again right here, and you have this lovely Indian on the other side. And there is a barrel in between them. Normally, she wouldn't be able at all to shoot him, but just because the barrel is right here, barrel counts like as almost the position she will be here, but you have to count the distance. So in this case, it will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 spaces, because bullets, they can reflect all the barrels, and she can shoot Chievo. In the game, if you die, you might actually not really die. There are some mechanics like cards or some ability of the character themselves that they make them return to the game as an undead. So for example, I have a card that tells that this Isa nun is going back to the game, so when she dies, she comes back as an undead. Her life is reduced because she starts with only like 3 life points on her card, on her dashboard, and she comes back to the game onto the nearest coffin in the zone you control. That was the basic explanation of the rules of Hardware the board game. As you see, the game itself is not really that complicated. The rulebook has something like 20 pages, but after 10 pages you already know really well how to play the game because it's quite obvious, self-explanatory. It provided myself, hours of fun already designing it and playing it. And imagine, it's also not the game itself, but building all those towns according to scenario. And you can build even your own scenario, your own town, and still play the game according to few rules. So thank you for watching that. Thank you for watching gameplay. Thank you in the name of Silverlink Studio. Please support our campaign because it's going to be really great. Thank you all.